Stress impacts INFPs deeply, and it really distorts our sense of emotional well-being as well as our creativity. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the main stressors for INFPs and what you can do about it so that you're not stuck in that horrible position. Being stressed out is often pretty easy to solve through your personality type. Now, you can't handle everything that's going on in the environment. That's beyond your control. That's stuff out there. But you can handle and adjust how you react to it and the meaning that you attach to the things that are happening. And because of that, it's really important to understand your personality type. But let's talk about some of the stressors first for what really creates havoc within INFPs. So remember, the first thing to understand when we're talking about how to cope with stress is to understand what your triggers are. So for INFPs, it can be violating personal values. So if something's really important to you and somebody bumps into it or steps on it or breaks it apart, that is extremely stressful for us because that is so core to our identity and our way of dealing with the world. It's our dominant function, specifically introverted feeling, which is making decisions based off our personal values. We spend so much time in this zone of self-discovery, self-understanding, that when somebody does something that really clashes with our personal values, it can be, usually it comes into two different reactions from my own personal experience. One is I distance myself. I just fade into the background, or, I slowly move away from that person. The other one is it comes out as anger, because extroverted thinking is like, well, what's an effective response to dealing with somebody that is conflicting with my values and treating them poorly? Well, anger. It's like, okay, all right, let me just get angry. And this usually doesn't come out as like physical violence. I don't think I've ever been in a physical fight, despite being a black belt in one and almost two different styles of martial arts. It's a long story, but it comes out as this like aggressive, like, I'm just so angry because somebody invalidated one of my values. And that usually gets people to back up, which is great. It gives me space. Yay, they're not stomping on my values anymore. You can be assertive without being aggressive. And that's something that INFPs often struggle with because of a lack of development of extroverted thinking. Normal conflicts are stressful. Any sort of discord and fighting between people really is unsettling. And it's something that, as I've gotten older, it's a bit easier to be around, but I don't want to be around it. And I have flashbacks of my past when I was a child. And that's not great. And my parents were great, but they had a divorce and they bumped heads. And for me, I took that in as like, well, conflict is something that should be avoided at all costs. I'm also an Enneagram 9, so that's the thing. Also, excessive details can cause stress and trigger stress in us because we're not good at focusing on all these little things and being meticulous about it and then taking the steps necessary in order to complete the task. If somebody bombards us with do this thing, do this thing, do this thing, and here are the specific details of it, it's just like, and I fall over and collapse. So how do you deal with that? How do you cope with stress? Well, first, discover effective ways of relaxation. All relaxation, all rejuvenation is not the same. There's going to be something specific to you that really just makes you feel good. If we're talking about personality type, introverted sensing, leaning into something from your past, doing something nostalgic, listening to some music from a good time in your past, or watching a TV show you've seen a bunch of times, going for a walk around the park, in the park that you've been to so many times, is really stress relieving. So that's one thing that you can do. That should work for all INFPs. And another thing is to slowly build in more extroverted thinking into your life. Leverage your commander, as I call it, and start to strategize your life a bit more. Just plan a couple little things, your 3-step to-do list, organize your house, clean up a little bit. These things reduce the stress because your extroverted thinking, this commander, wants to be a part of your crew, but we often push it off. It's like, it's too cold, it's uncaring, it's cruel. And that is a thing that we need to deal with more, because once we start to give it some more time and XP, experience, if you treat it like a role-playing game, then it stops forcing itself out and it starts to support us. And once you build a better intrapersonal rapport with yourself, then everything gets a lot better. I personally like to do self-hypnosis. That is one thing that's really helped me to relax. But also going for walks, 20, 30-minute walks. Hopefully not listening to anything, but usually I do, and I study in the process. But I know that when I get really stressed out, going for a walk or a run is really helpful. And with that, engaging in physical activities. Do something to get yourself out of your mind as much and more into your body. And you can start to reduce some of the stress. Like it allows you to tap into your body. And that is a great thing, because usually we get stressed out because we're too much in our heads and we're trying to figure out all these different things and we're thinking in loops over and over. And so doing something, as I said, like running or walking or being out in nature is really helpful. And if you're good at dancing, do some dancing or yoga, something to release the stress. And even a simpler version of that is to practice better breathing. Breathe in for a count of 7, out for a count of 11. That is my favorite. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system. It calms your body down and lets you regain control of the situation better. And the more control you have, the better you're going to be able to react and choose the right states to be in as you are interacting with other people. And yourself too. And one last thing is to check your metaphors. What is the metaphor that is coming up for you around stress? A lot of people say like it's overwhelming. Well, what is it? Is it like a big tidal wave that's crashing on you? Is it the roof is caving in? Are you getting squished between walls? What is the metaphor? And you can do this by simply asking yourself, what is it like? And then exploring what's left, what's right, what's in front, what's behind, what's up, what are you standing on? And by doing this, you're accessing more of your right brain, and you're accessing the unconscious metaphor and making it conscious. And by making it conscious, you start to create insights between, well, how are you reacting to the things that are going on within the metaphor? And oftentimes, even just the awareness of that is enough to create some change and movement in your life, because you're starting to make different decisions now that you have a different perspective on what's going on. If you want help with that, consider coaching from me and hypnosis. You can go to coaching.geekpsychology.com to check out more about that. So know that awareness of your tendencies is an important step to reducing stress, because you can catch it sooner. You're like, this is my cycle. I know what happens. I know how my seasons are working, and I know which season I'm in. Or if you like the hero's journey, you know that, well, I'm at this point of the story. And I know that once I leave the comfort zone, then I'm going to have to go through these trials and tribulations. I'm going to meet friends and allies. I'm going to feel like I can't do it anymore. And I'm going to feel crushed, and then I'm going to get over it. I'm going to learn new skills. I'm going to go back to the comfort zone or the normal way of life. And then a new challenge is going to come up. If you know that that's the cycle, then, well, you can kind of look forward to the next step instead of worrying about what's actually going to happen. Conquering stress is empowering. It makes you feel more alive. It makes you feel like you have resilience, that you can handle what's coming up, and you can cope and you can acclimate. And that is an amazing state to be in and to bring to the world. That is where INFPs can get a huge boost of confidence. And you can check this video out over here too to understand more on how INFPs can build confidence, so that you can bring in all these different aspects and really show up as a positive force in the world and be happy to be who you are. Good luck, have fun. Peace.